From our Washington, D.C. studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Hena Zuberi. President Donald Trump and his family have earned at least $1.4 billion during his first year back in the White House. This and more on today's news, so stay tuned. Off-duty police officers in Minnesota were stopped by federal agents and asked to prove U.S. citizenship, police chief said Tuesday. The incidents occurred in the Twin Cities area during recent immigration enforcement operations. Brooklyn Park Police Chief Mark Bruley said several of those stopped were officers from his department. All were people of color. Bruley described one case involving a female officer who was off duty and driving. Federal agents boxed her in her car and demanded documents. She did not have paperwork because she is a U.S. citizen. When she tried to record the encounter, her phone was knocked from her hand. The agents left only after she identified herself as a police officer. Bruley said similar cases involved officers from other departments. Hennepin County Sheriff Dewana Witt warned that these actions are civil rights violations. She said the already fragile trust between police and communities is being damaged. Police leaders said they support lawful immigration enforcement but called for stronger oversight. Federal authorities declined to comment on the specific incident. The Department of Justice has issued grand jury subpoenas to senior Democratic leaders in Minnesota. Those served included Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey. A subpoena is a legal order that compels a person or office to provide documents, records, or testimony as part of a criminal investigation. The action is part of a federal probe into allegations that state and city officials interfered with immigration enforcement operations. Investigators are examining whether officials obstructed or discouraged raids carried out by Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, or Customs and Border Protection, CBP. The investigation follows protests in Minneapolis after ICE agent Jonathan Ross shot and killed 37-year-old U.S. citizen Renee Good during an immigration raid. The unrest came amid the deployment of nearly 3,000 federal immigration agents to the state. 5 government officers are under scrutiny. The FBI has reportedly demanded records and internal communications. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche said that interference with federal officers could amount to a serious crime. Walz accused the Trump administration of politicizing justice. Frey said he would not be intimidated. President Donald Trump and his family have earned at least $1.4 billion during his first year back in the White House. According to an analysis by the New York Times editorial board, the amount could be higher as part of the Trump family finances remain hidden from public view. It estimated the gains equal more than 16,000 times the median U.S. household income. The report says that the largest share came from family-linked cryptocurrency ventures, generating at least $867 million. It also cites overseas real estate projects, licensing deals, and foreign gifts. Amongst them was a $400 million jet from Qatar, which Trump plans to use as Air Force One before transferring it to his presidential library. The Times also said settlements with major media and technology companies brought in tens of millions more. The report comes as millions of Americans face cuts to health care and food assistance made by the Trump administration. Columnist Nick Kristof wrote that under Trump, the swamp has never been so facile. President Donald Trump made a series of false and misleading claims about the American economy while marking the first anniversary of his second term this week. Trump claimed there was no inflation in the United States, which official data confirms is not true. Core inflation stood at about 2.6% late last year, with overall inflation rose roughly 2.7% year on year. Trump also lied about drug prices falling by up to 600% under his policies. Such reductions are mathematically impossible, as a 100% cut would mean medicine were free. Trump falsely claimed that fired federal workers had moved easily into private sector jobs. Government data shows that more than 270,000 federal jobs were cut, but private sector hiring remains weak, especially in industries hit by tariffs. The president also cited gas prices as low as 1.99 per gallon, when the national average is closer to 2.80. Claims about record car factory constructions were also disputed. Investment in transportation manufacturing has declined from its 2024 peak. Overall job growth in 2025 was far lower than the previous year. U.S. stocks closed sharply lower as investors reacted to rising geopolitical tensions and fresh tariff threats. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 1.76%, losing nearly 871 points. The Nasdaq dropped 2.39%, and the S&P 500 slid 2.06%. The volatility index, often called the fear index, jumped more than 6%. The sell-off followed weekend remarks by President Donald Trump, who warned of new tariffs on European countries opposing U.S. plans linked to Greenland. He said imports from Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, the UK, the Netherlands, and Finland would face a 10% duty from February 1st. The rate could rise to 25% by June. Trump also threatened steep tariffs on French wine after President Emmanuel Macron declined to join a Gaza peace initiative. The European Union responded cautiously. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, speaking at the World Economic Forum, called the tariff move a mistake. Commission spokesperson Olaf Gill said Europe is all ready to defend its economic interests. In corporate news, Netflix shares fell about 5% in after-hours trade despite strong earnings and record global subscribers. Texas Governor Greg Abbott listing of the Council on American Islamic Relations, or Cair, as a foreign terrorist organization has cast a shadow over the Islamic Games scheduled for May 9th and 10th in the Dallas area. The move has triggered the cancellation of venue talks by the Grapevine-Colleyville Independent School District. The school said it ended negotiations after learning that a listed sponsor had been designated a foreign terrorist organization by the state. The designation has drawn sharp criticism. Civil rights groups and legal experts note that there is no publicly presented evidence to suggest that Cair, the largest Muslim advocacy organization in the U.S., has abetted or supported any terrorist act. Despite this, state lawmakers cited the designation to pressure the school district to withdraw. District officials pointed to Texas law that restricts public contracts with groups labeled as terrorist organizations. Event Materials had earlier named a local high school as the venue, which hosted similar games in previous years. The controversy has fueled broader concerns about stigmatizing Muslim community events under political pressure. A massive fire tore through a Rohingya refugee camp in southeastern Bangladesh, destroying hundreds of shelters and classrooms. Details coming up next.
My name is Layla. I was an average kid until Zula Inc. broke into my life because my dad discovered time travel. After that, everything changed.
You're the new girl Layla, right?
Whoa! What if I don't fit in?
Abdullah!
Do I hear my name? Welcome to Vancouver, cuz.
Whoa!
You four have been specially chosen to take our project into the next generation.
You can time travel?
Abdullah! No! Abdullah! Where?
Do you really think I don't know why we had to leave Seattle, Mama?
Now here, keep these close. These should never leave your wrist.
This virtual reality game is crazy. You can even eat. This is reality, buddy. We zoomed through a wormhole.
Oh no! My Go Watch! It's gone!
What does this do?
That's Al-Khwarizmi. You know, the father of mathematics. It's because of him we have algorithms.
I will not stop until your legacy, everyone's legacy, lies in ruins. Of course it was you. You little rascals ruined everything.
Your fate will be great. Just don't give up.
Time hoppers.
Medical teams from Doctors Without Borders, or MSF, says their ability to treat wounded civilians in Gaza is increasingly under threat due to new Israeli government rules. These are limiting access to hospitals and disrupting life-saving care. Medical services run by MSF in Gaza are under growing strain, according to patients and staff. The organization says Israel's new laws are affecting its ability to operate normally. At MSF clinics, patients continue to receive treatment for burns, shrapnel wounds, and rehabilitation needs. Many say these facilities are their only option. Faraj Dundiya says her daughter Ajura suffered a severe leg injury during shelling in late December. Doctors initially feared amputation, but treatment at the MSF clinic saved her leg. She says no other hospital offers similar care for children. MSF project coordinator Hunter McGovern says that the clinics treat about 150 patients a day, with numbers surging during intense fighting. He says Israeli government restrictions linked to registration are blocking supplies and delaying staff rotations. Water and sanitation systems are also affected. MSF says that its registration has been suspended under the new Israeli rules in Gaza and the occupied West Bank. It is unclear how long the suspension will last. Israeli soldiers killed at least 11 Palestinians, including 3 journalists, on Wednesday across several parts of Gaza, despite a U.S.-backed ceasefire in the region. 7 people were killed in central Gaza, 2 in the south and 2 in the north, Wafa news agency reports. Among the dead were 3 journalists whose vehicle was hit in central Gaza. Local journalists say that the team was on assignment sponsored by an Egyptian committee overseeing Egypt's relief work in Gaza. They were filming tent encampments built for displaced Palestinians. Arabic media identified the journalists as photojournalist Abbott Shat, Anas Ghunaim, and correspondent Mohammed Kashta. Israeli naval vessels fired towards Gaza City's coast, while helicopters and military vehicles targeted eastern districts. Since the ceasefire was announced in October, Palestinian officials say Israel has violated the agreement more than 1,300 times, killing 483 Palestinians and wounding 1,200 others. Israel's genocide in Gaza has killed more than 71,000 people and wounded more than 171,400 Palestinians since October 2023. A massive fire tore through a Rohingya refugee camp in southeastern Bangladesh, destroying hundreds of shelters and classrooms. UNICEF says that the blaze hit Rohingya Camp 16, reducing more than 480 shelters and 11 learning facilities to ashes within minutes. Families were left homeless and children lost vital spaces for education. The agency says it is assessing damage and preparing urgent assistance with partners. Bangladesh hosts more than 1.2 million Rohingya refugees in Cox's Bazar, most of them who fled Burma after a 2017 genocide. Yemen's army has started removing military camps from the southern city of Aden, which serves as the country's interim capital. The first step was evacuation of Jabal Hadid, a major military base overlooking the city and nearby airport. Officials said soldiers, weapons, and ammunition were withdrawn as part of a plan to reduce armed presence inside residential areas. The site was later handed over to a government security unit. Yemen's leadership says that the move is meant to ensure all weapons and forces remain under state control. The Presidential Leadership Council has stressed that no armed groups will be allowed to operate outside official institutions. The continent of Africa's economy is expected to stay on a steady growth path despite global uncertainty. The International Monetary Fund, or IMF, says that the sub-Saharan Africa will grow by 4.5% in both 2026 and 2027. The projection is outlined in the IMF's latest World Economic Outlook. It marks a slight rise from 4.4% growth in 2025. The pace is well above the projected global average of 3.3%. The IMF links the improvement to better macroeconomic management and structural reforms. Major economies are expected to drive the momentum. Nigeria is forecast to grow 4.4% in 2026 and 4.1% in 2027. South Africa is expected to expand by 1.5%. Still, challenges remain. The IMF warns that declining foreign aid is straining low-income countries. It urges fiscal discipline while investing in infrastructure, education, and jobs. The organization says that sustained reforms are key to keeping Africa's growth resilient. At least 4 journalists working for leading Indian national media outlets have been summoned by police in Indian-occupied Kashmir. It is raising fresh concerns over press freedom. One of them is senior journalist Basharat Masood of the Indian Express. He was called to a police station on 4 consecutive days and asked to sign a bond pledging not to disturb public order. He refused. Sources say that Masood was questioned over reporting on a controversial police drive seeking detailed information from mosques and mosque officials across Kashmir. He was allegedly threatened with jail time if he did not comply. 3 other journalists received similar summons. The Editors Guild of India has strongly condemned the move, calling it coercive and arbitrary. The Guild said that repeated police questioning and pressure to sign affidavits amounts to intimidation and undermines the media's role in a democracy. Political parties Religious leaders and journalists warn the action signals a wider crackdown on independent reporting in the region. New research suggests that the common painkiller ibuprofen could reduce the risk of certain cancers. Studies carried out in the US and Europe have linked regular ibuprofen use to lower rates of endometrial and bowel cancer. Researchers say that the effect likely is tied to the drug's ability to reduce inflammation, a key driver of tumor growth. One major US-based study followed more than 42,000 women over 12 years. Those who used ibuprofen regularly showed a significant lower risk of developing endometrial cancer. Scientists say that ibuprofen blocks enzymes that fuel inflammation and may also interfere with genes that cancer cells rely on to survive. But experts warn against self-medication. Long-term use can cause stomach bleeding, kidney damage, and heart problems. Doctors stress that ibuprofen is not a substitute for proven cancer prevention. Healthy diet, exercise, and weight control remain the safest protection. That's all from our Washington, D.C. studios. Thank you for watching Muslim News. We are a community channel dedicated to bringing you stories you can trust. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content. You can also comment to let us know what you think of our coverage. You can donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV, especially since I will be reporting live from The Hague at the International Court of Justice as Gambia takes Burma to court. Assalamu alaikum.